which gets about 60% extension. That's without I'm demonstrating the subunit for this snake. It's nice and squashy, it bends around. Very bendable. Put that off there. Well, this is the subunit. It's about as straightforward to make as it looks. It's only got one little complicated thing in the middle that you can't see, but you'll see when I make it. You need 3 rings of 12, 3 rings of 6. Stack the rings of 12 together. Not like that. Like that. 6 ring in each end. Now, 6 ring in the other end, just make sure it's sort of the same, like there's the dot and there's the dot. Doesn't really have to be, but it looks better. Right, now notice there's nothing in the middle. I don't know if you can see, but there's a 6 ring here, 6 ring there, but there's no 6 ring in that gap in there. Alright, now the effect of that is that these 2 6 rings are aligned with each other, so they're held firm. So you had 2 6 rings, they would want to go like that. If you tried to put them together the same way, like this, they wouldn't go. And making this holds them in that same way. So effectively, because they're lined up, they're pushing apart. If they rotated a 30 degrees, either 6 ring was rotated 30 degrees, it would smack into the other one like that. Bam. Okay. So you just have that, and that's the unit, and you have one joiner on it. I might have put that on the wrong side, so we'll just check. No, by luck I'll put it on the right side. I'll put this one back on as well. I'll make one more so you can see it's even easier than I made it look then. We've got 12 rings, 6 ring in each end, making it a hexagon. 6 ring, make sure it's right. What'll happen is that the hexagons will just be slightly off kilter compared to each other. These just work together like this. Those are quite strong. If it comes apart, just goes back in. We squash. And we stretch. They squash more than they stretch. They can stretch like that. No problem. I'm going to show the subunit for this slightly larger snake. It's basically the same principle as the this smaller one here, which is in also has a video, maybe earlier in this video, but it's just bigger. Right, there's 18 rings, 6 rings and 12 rings, and you make you make a stack of 18 rings. You can use a fancy technique to make a log of them if you want, or else you can just do it like the way I do it, which is just to make them as you use them. which has some inefficiency but does eliminate double handling. Alright, so you've made that. You put the hexagons, one of the hexagons into the ring of 18s. You leave the middle one empty, and you put another one in to make a lid. But because there's nothing in the middle, you can squash that down, and it doesn't want to stick to the one underneath it because it's exactly aligned with the one underneath it. If you turned it, it would stick, but because the magnet's being kept artificially on top of it, exactly aligned on top of each other, that won't happen. So all you do, you put, well, I'll put it on here, take a chance of getting it the right way. Well, that's the entire subunit. Well, I've got it here. If it's, yeah, so that was by luck. I could have put it on that side, it wouldn't have stuck, but it was just lucky. Alright, and there you have it. 3 rings of 18. The outside of those 2 rings are made into hexagons. The inner ring is left empty of a hexagon, and you join them with these 12 rings. Don't be tempted to put another 6 ring in the middle. I've tried it, it doesn't make it stronger, and it just seems to collapse more. It's the same as the other one. You can put it into compression, or you can put it into tension. Now what you can also do, if it crashes, it doesn't seem to be a problem, you just bend it back and it's good. That's because it's such a simple construction, so it just comes apart, put it back on. Right, I've taken a little bit off just so you can see how I do it. Hopefully, so you take this, the gap, there's the hexagon, that boils the corner of the hexagon and the gap just under it. While you're squeezing, you poke into it. So you squeeze each side, of the corners of the 2 hexagons on each side, and you poke in, and it can squash down. It's a bit fiddly. You've got to get just the right pressure so that it doesn't, so that it stays pushed but it doesn't fly to pieces. There's no reason why you couldn't have done this prior to assembly. I just wanted to show the other form of the snake first, to show that it was flexible even before you did this. Now, put that in. Is it going to go? Oh, I've done that off camera, right? So I'll do that here. Now it's still as flexible as it was, but what happens? You've even probably heard it. They can pop back together. So if you pop back together all the ones that are on, like on one side, it'll go in a natural curve. Alright, because that side will be slightly fatter. Yeah. Popping them back is easier than popping them in. What we've done is add a bias to the snake, so it's already going that far, so now it can bend around even more. I don't think it's going to bend all the way. No, it's not. I'll have to make up some more pieces, but that's a lot more curvature than we were getting before. You can still do this thing. Some of them may have popped back. No, it all looks good. I'll make up some more without the camera on. This gets about 60% extension. without like expanding them like this. If you expand it like that, it still works. There's two modes of expansion. One is these bits I just pushed in, which isn't really a big mode. The big mode is the centres. And you can see that can pull out quite a fair bit. When these click out, they stay out, but you can just click them back in and then they're fine. I'll show you how to make one. I've run out of balls right now, so I'm going to just take one out and kind of deconstruct it. You can see that's the unit. This is just the joiner. Just going to go back on this one, no problem. And this is just two hexagons. It's basically almost identical to the previous smaller ones, but not quite. As I say, close. What you've got when you start is a hexagon, which has been built on the back of it, just with a ring, like that. And on the top of that, another hexagon put, just taking care to put the corners up. So it's 3 layers, but the middle layer is hollow. So the same thing, that the top and the bottom hexagon are kept artificially aligned, which means that they repel each other. That's just what will happen if you take out the middle. There's no fancy thinking involved. Just squeeze out the corners. You can do that with a little stick as well. It doesn't always work as easily as that. I don't know why it worked easily that time. And you put it in. Oh, hang on. Try and get them aligned as you approach. Should work. And there you have it. See how the one clicks out. It's not a big deal. One of them sounded like it was clicking out. That was that one. Yes. Presses to that. So look at the expansion. Presses to that. There. That expands out. Those little clicks you can hear. That's some of these opening up. Like this. There's probably some more there somewhere, yeah. It doesn't, it's reversible, but it doesn't spring back by itself, that part. You can actually use that on purpose to get some extra extension. I might just do that now since we're finished. doing that puts a natural bias in it, wants to curve. So you can actually get a bit of a bigger curve. So if I take what was going to be a caterpillar tail off, I can just probably put them together nicely. I've got that. Oh, pulled the middle out of one of them. There we go. Now of course it's not going to rotate all the way on its own axis, but it does rotate surprisingly far. Same one again, breaking. I'll lose you there.